or last in this series in 2021 of Q&A with Whitey. Thanks for joining us. We're going to have some really great conversation on our industry as being a broker and what it means or how to be successful. Look forward to that conversation shortly. But for now, you know the protocol. Make sure you got your coffee going. Need that in the morning. And of course, a little bit of friendly morning tea. Look at that. Hang on, get the view right. Look at that. Some strawberries, nuts, and homemade muffins. Lovely, diabetic friendly. That's what we need. Anyhow, let's give our thanks to our sponsors that support us as we've been going through the year. It's been another crazy COVID year, we know. Glad to be at the back end of it. Time for a break, and hopefully we'll get into a more kind of normal as we get into 2022. I know there's still a bit in front of us to go, but a big thank you to our sponsors who have been with us throughout the year, who support us and to enable us to bring all our content free to you. So thanks to ALI, Bluestone, Finstro, Prosper, Heartland, Insurance Advisor Net, On Deck, FunTap, Credit Fix Solutions, Affordable Star, Blend, Pepper Money, Strive Financial, EPI, AAMC, Amfin, and Trailbook Loans. And of course, a special thank you to our wellness sponsor, Suncorp Bank, who pay the bill basically for you to be able to have free mental health counselling and financial counselling as well. So thanks to them. It's a very, very important conversation. You know how passionate I am about it. There's the number if you need some help. If you're falling into a dark space and things are looking pretty gloomy and you need some professional counselling in strict confidence, get onto that number. The people at Adhere who do the counselling for us, they're professional counsellors. They'll look after you. There's no disclosure to anyone. The only thing that does happen is at the end of the month, Adhere tallies up a little account and sends it to Suncorp and say, X amount of people have used the service, you pay the bill. And they do. They're wonderful people. So thank you, Suncorp. Love you for it. Yeah, get onto it if you need some help. Alrighty. So moving on, we like to welcome our special guest today, Ruan Berger, and we're going to talk about success and broker. There's a bit of a platform that he runs, but more so we want to understand what the market's about, what's happening in this world today, and we want to know a bit more about the man, you know, the man behind the man. So, Ruan, welcome, my friend. Unmute yourself, buddy. Are you there?
Oh, I thought I am. My apologies.
No, there you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, Mariah, who runs our ad, mutes everyone. It's just one of those things, yeah. She shuts us up all the time. She does it to me in the office, mind you. She's constantly muting me. Well, that's all right. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
No, not too bad, mate. Can't complain, and looking forward to Chrissy.
Yeah, I think we're all looking forward to Christmas, and especially a bit of a break. She's been 2 tough years in a row. We're just dealing with all the COVID issues, and yeah, it's been a little bit crazy. But anyhow, we've got to keep moving forward. And it's really great to see our industry has continued to step forward and doing great things. FBAA just finished a whole lot of surveying where we saw that, basically the outcome was that 98% of borrowers say that brokers act in their best interest, and that they will use their broker again for their next loan. So, yeah, the industry is doing a really great thing. But anyhow, more on that another time. Let's have a chat about you. Mate, tell me a little about your background. Forgetting about what you're doing at the moment, but you're a young man. You haven't got any grey hairs yet, so you're still in the prime of your life. So tell us what.
We're losing them before they can go grey. That's the problem.
That's very cool. Hey, look, that's one way to go about it. Yeah. So, like, tell me these stories, sort of like what you did when you left school and what you've been doing over how long between now and then, and we'll come to the now shortly. But give us a bit of your background.
Well, just short of it, got from school, got a scholarship with Standard Bank South Africa. So banking has almost been a little bit in the blood. It's always been finance. Went over to England from there, had an opportunity to go away with friends, and went over to do a little bit of work there. Worked for BP and then for BBC, and met Kylie there. I think it was the one time where I was sober and Kylie was drunk. And it's all good things. That's the moment you pounce. And yeah, a year later, we got married, and her grand got sick, fell and broke a hip, and that got us to say, well, maybe it's time to have a look at Australia. Got married in South Africa, but then went back to England and yeah, had the opportunity to look at Australia. Moved to Gladstone. That's where her family was.
Lovely.
Yeah, good old Gladdy, and started with the Rock Building Society. Worked with them, and yes, joined from there. Joined forces with John Whitten, which was then Independent Home Loans. Taught me a lot about what I know in respect of being a broker, and then started Home Loans, etc. And from Home Loans, etc., in 2011, our son got diagnosed. So 11 years old, still in nappies, don't talk. Was a situation where I had to choose between Brisbane and Melbourne. And now knowing something like COVID, Brisbane was clearly the better choice.
Yeah.
And yeah, so came to Brizzy, started off a new business called Time Home Loans, and built that over the last 7 years. And yeah, sold that late November and settled in March. Yeah.
Hey, nice. So you've been in banking. You started overseas, been in banking, came to Australia, got into broking, or a bit of building signing, then into broking as well. And you obviously been successful at that and sold that, and you've landed where you are today. Mate,
Yes.
It's always great to understand people's journey, because I think I've had 2 brokerages of my own in the past. One was quite successful, the other one was a debacle, but anyhow, we won't go there. You get that. But I think it's always great for, especially people who are relatively new in the industry, to see that there is a journey with this. It actually can take you places. It can lead you on to bigger and better things. There's opportunities to sell your business and to live the life and the lifestyle that you want, and where you want. As you say, you chose Brizzy, and during COVID, it probably, in hindsight, was the right answer. I would have said it's the right answer anyhow, but then I grew up in Sydney, so I better be a little bit careful. I wouldn't move back there for quick, to be honest with you.
On that point, I think it's you talk about young brokers, and I think we forget sometimes where we were, where we started, what we put in. And one of the very good lessons I've heard early days was, don't do what I do what I did. And I think so many times, we forget how hard it was at the start, and we try and make everything easy for the new young broker, where the reality of it is you've got to learn your craft. You've got to spend the time. You've got to be head down, bum up, and do what you've got to do to be better at it and become that better version of it.
Yeah, I used to always have a saying, and it's not quite as relevant as it was then as it is today, but the parallel principle of it is that you need to wear out the leather on your shoes. Now, I don't wear leather shoes these days. I'm in runners. That's old age, but we won't go there. But the principle of it was, if you want to get business, you got to go knock on doors. You got to get up, wear your soles out on your shoes by getting out there and doing the business and crunching numbers. Whether it is technology these days changes the dynamics of that. But yeah, it's not easy, and you got to get out there and put the yards in. And you put the yards in, you get the rewards. Yeah.
Agreed. And I think even early days, I mean, it's a lot to take in. It's a lot to understand. Where do you go next? How do you grow? What do you do? I think the real estate for me has always been, if you think of Gladstone and you think of Brisbane, the real estate to me was more than just a real estate partner. It was more than just a lead flow proposition. It's what I learned from them, because I still till today think there is no system better built to allow anyone and everyone to be successful by following 3 principles, and that is prospect, list, sell. And I think so many times in business, I've come to realize that in broking, we can make things a lot more simplified too, to be a good client engagement and a good client journey. Yeah.
Well, we'll talk more about that shortly, but tell me, I still want to know more about the Ruan story. So I like digging into people. So tell me, what do you do to relax? What are your hobbies?
Well, it's a funny story because, I love chess. For starters, I played chess when I was in school. It's the methodology of chess has always interested me, and I like the way it's influenced me in work, how it's influenced me. At the end of the day, if you want to get better, play better players. So certain principles that's in chess is just truly the principles that is life, that is business. So chess for me played such a big role in the way I went. And I came to realize very easily, like I like, people talk about relaxing. I'm maybe not that one that relaxed that much per se. I do like golf, not good at it, but it's the one time that I find I don't think so much about other things, because that little white ball takes all the attention and all the thinking that's needed. And saying that little white ball, I tend to not remain with them for a long time either. to have a way of their own, but I do like golf. I like the friendships you can create through golf as well. And but yeah, as far as relaxing, family for me is first and foremost. So I think a lot of decisions we've made over the years has been family first. We've got a little place over at Stratty, so every other weekend we'll be going over to North Stradbroke Island, and
Nice.
it just it's those little things. It almost makes me think a little bit of Fiji. I think there's a close comparison with that island life. Everything does feel a bit slower there. And I think it's funny when you put yourself in that position just to calm down a little bit, what it does for you in respect of your thinking process, your thought processes. So yeah, Stratty's became a big thing for us because of our son. He loves it over there. It's it's a lot of fun because a lot of things are bounded around him, so to speak. And it's funny. I used to say I don't like the word special needs as much as I love the word special. And I can see even today, and you look at yourself as parents, and every one parent, I think, at any one time, we know we can be better parents. But I do like when we take stock and just realize how much our children's has allowed us to grow and to become better human beings.
Yeah, very much so. Look, mate, I certainly on the same page with you. My stepdaughter has special needs, so she's severely intellectually impaired, level 3 autism, and severely intellectually impaired on top of that. So it does change the dynamics of family life and the priorities, and it also comes with its challenges. And people that don't have special children in that manner probably don't really understand it. I certainly do. I live it as you would live it. So my friend, certainly with you on that journey.
I made this joke and I said it to Carly's mum, and it was at the time just a joke, and it became a bit of a tell story now. And Kine loves swings, so it calms him down. So we've got swings everywhere, the cocoon swings and everything. And we'll spend a lot of time swinging him, which is surprising what it does for me in respect of just that meditation, because there's not much else you can do when swinging. We considered the opportunity of putting a motor on it, but I'm certain he'll pull you back to the swing. And Carly was sitting there, and it was one of those days where he was wanting a lot of swinging. And I said, babe, I asked God for a good woman, and he gave me a good woman. And, I went on my knees and I said, thanks, God. And I said to him, now, the only other thing I want is to be part of a swingers club. I said, I think he misunderstood me. So
we're going to move on from that one. Now we're getting a little bit too much. That's okay. We have a new insight to Ruan Burger. It's all good. It's all good. Hey, I love the analogy or not the analogy as such, but your pastime with chess. I mean, when we look at business and what we do, I guess it is a very, it's an art form as such to strategically know which way to step, which way not to step, how to plan your moves in advance, and how to be successful in that. And I can sort of now understand that is a piece of a puzzle to me that just is you to a T. I get it and I understand it. We're going to talk more on that in a tick. Before we do that and talk about what you're doing at the moment and then how that's going to benefit brokers and so on, and why you do what you do today. But what are your general thoughts on our industry and the markets at the moment? Have you got any feelings as to what's happening? And we've just seen Finshaw do a sale, and obviously the existing folk continue on, but they're growing and doing more. And it reminds me of bygone eras that I've been through. This is my 44th year in this industry. I've now clicked over another. And I've seen things in the past. Yeah, it's about time I retired, I think. No, not yet. Having too much fun. But yeah, it's interesting to see these things grow and evolve and change. I just gain some insight from yourself on what you thought of our broking industry at the moment and the markets in general, because there's some interesting things happening and some interesting news this morning that I saw, and I'd be interested in maybe a few thoughts from yourself.
I think for me personally, just to keep paying attention, in markets like this, when everything gets busy, we forget the very fundamentals that got us there in the first place. So for me, when I get invited now to talk to brokers, a big focus for me is you've got to still keep the referral sources at bay. You can't now, just because you're busy, not give attention to the very things that got you there in the first place. So I'm a big believer of root cause versus bottleneck. I think we're paying a lot of attention now to the bottleneck and not the root cause, because we're not taking enough time to go back to square number one and see and it's almost that old theory again of don't do what I do what I did. Because the reality of this, we all start at the same place. The brokers that does well, the ones that doesn't do as well, we all have started at the same place. Some of us just pay more attention to the very things that got us there. So I'm just saying to brokers today, keep paying attention to what got you here. Yes, the numbers change, not because for me, for every broker, I honestly do believe not for all of us, the numbers change because we've become better brokers. It changed because the market changed in respect of property of 500 suddenly sells for 800. Suddenly you've got a 300,000 uplift. That's still one loan. Compliance has got more. Compliance for me is fantastic. If you listen to the LVR podcast that we have, for me, compliance has just changed from being compliance to selling compliantly. So again, all I'm saying is make compliance part of where you start, not part of where you finished. So, and again, when you make it a part of where you start, it's a process analogy, it's a sequence, not a consequence. Consequences has got a lot of blind spots, and we, for the life of us, can't see them because we didn't expect them. So sequence, at the end of the day, small steps. If you lose a little bit of, direction, it's not the end of the world. It's small steps. You can regather, recoup, re-go. So for me, I think that's one of the things. But, for me, Pete, the one thing that come to light that I was a bit surprised is the big conversation for me the last 3 months or so since we've gone live has been about recruitment. Everyone I'm talking to, it's recruitment up front, recruitment in everyone found. And I think recruitment for me, you got to recruit to grow. You can't grow to recruit. And I think so many people understand it incorrectly. They look at this as a means to an end when this is a process. It's never been a means to an end. Employment is a means to an end. So the issue now is you get busy, you get stressed, you get overwhelmed. Now you put anyone, Tom, Dick, or Harry, in that role just because you need somewhere there. It's the wrong reason to recruit. Because in 3 months, you've got to recruit again. You spend all this money for what? You still have to train. So I said you've got to recruit. My opinion is recruit to grow. It's something in the businesses I've had that I've taken real stock on. And more to the point, I got asked by a broker because I talk about database recruitment. And this happened in Gladstone. If I take a bit of a walk down memory lane, Gladstone, you could work for the Port Authority and earn $90,000 moving paper, like being a document clerk. That was nuts. So I made a point of recruiting through my database, making sure my database knew I've got an opportunity. These are people that have dealt with me. So if they like what we do, if this is something that of interest to them, have a conversation with me. What it did do for me, what I didn't see coming, it kept on telling my existing client base, we're growing, we're growing, we're growing. So there's a message to be said there. And more to the point, one broker said to me not too long ago, you shared a lot over the years. Why have you never shared that? Is that one of your little things you kept to yourself? And I said, mate, I thought everyone does it. Because to me, it was just common sense that why wouldn't you talk to your database? Is there someone that came and got a loan and decided, I love this, I would love to become a loan writer? Why wouldn't you talk to your database, the people that trust you, the people that engage with you, and make sure they know if you ever think of this as an industry, as a profession, think of us first as a business. Yeah.
Mate, what great words they are. I must admit, at times I haven't really thought about it. I actually do that, but I hadn't actually thought the reasoning behind it and the impact that it has. It's there you go, excellent stuff. So look, I think that's an interesting point to land on, to say, well, today you run a very, in my mind, is a very focused business. It's got a very defined purpose and reason, and I want to start to explore what that's about and talk a bit more about it, because that's the purpose of today's conversation, is talking about brokers and being successful, and how does one become successful or gain that success? What are the expert habits, the experts' tips as to what you should be doing? And I guess the thing that sits in my mind right now is what actually, without going into what the business is, but what actually led you to establishing your current business? After you had your brokerages and everything else, why did you go on this current journey? What was that for?
I think for me, it started with being in a position and the opportunity to train brokers. So training brokers, one thing I've learned was when you get busy, and unfortunately for us as older brokers, we get quite good at it. You can sell ice to an Eskimo. So you don't need to follow certain processes per se just to get to the end product. To the extent, sometimes you don't even have to sit in the meeting. You can talk to someone over the phone and already dictate the terms to them, and they will come with you because they've been referred to you and they already trust your judgment. When you bring in young loan writers, when you bring in new loan writers, you don't have that philosophy and methodology doesn't have true value, because then you wonder when you look back at them and go, you never cut the mustard. Well, they didn't cut the mustard because you cheated so many systems with them. So I had to go back to square number one and go, I got to do these things that they see me do it. They learn from what I do, and the reality then become what I am doing. So, and the proof was in the pudding that it clearly worked exceptionally well. Did it mean I had to do more work? Yes, of course. But I felt I'd rather do more now so that I can scale later. And with that being said, what I came to learn is you can have as many meetings as you want with with loan writers, etc. Some people don't like sharing. They don't like sharing. Some people don't like in the moment to be conflicted. They don't like in the moment to ask questions. They don't want to look like it's a dumb question. So I had this idea in my head that I would love to build a system that allows them at their time to still come to gym, still have the gym membership, come to gym, do your time, and at the end of the day, influence those habits. Because we know if you constantly start going to gym, you start thinking different about your body, you start thinking different about what you put in your body, all these things happen. And I'm a big believer of the word knowledge is power. I've never believed it, and I never really understood it, because we all know how to lose weight, but so many of us don't. So we know how to do it, why aren't we doing it? So for me, it became a bit of an applied knowledge is power. So I want to build this proposition that allows people to apply within. So sign up when you want to sign up, do it when you want to do it. But at the end of the day, just go to the gym, walk through that door. And then I built myself in as the personal trainer. So if you want more, take more. But if not, if at this stage, this is comfort for you, let's start with your comfort. Let's just influence those small steps, those small behaviors and routines. Then when you start seeing that first new client engagement, that client outcome, and you go, wow, I like the feeling of it, I promise you'll go to the gym more. Because the first time people start saying to you, wow, you look like, you're muscling up. It's surprising how many young blokes will go back 4 times to the gym because they heard what they wanted to hear. And I think we built this broker journal on the same philosophy to say, you're going to hear what you want to hear. You're going to hear what you need to hear. But let's start at square number one. Let's influence those behaviors, those routines, those habits, those consistencies. So tomorrow you'll have a morphed norm. And one thing I know about norm is over the years with brokers that have worked with us, if people are used to doing 3 appointments a week, that is their norm. Start getting them to do 6 appointments a week, and they do them consistently, and say to them, go back to 3. They go back to 3 and they feel uncomfortable. They go, I don't know, it just feels like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. It feels like I'm not talking to enough people. It is surprising how our norms influence our behaviors, but that norm needs to start somewhere. It has to be initiated somewhere. So it's what I then just thought. We went and I built it. I became the minister of pick up and drop off. So mornings I take the kids, in the afternoons I pick them up, and between school hours I built the journal. Kylie is a teacher by profession, so she was the one to make it pretty. As the minister of pick up and drop off, I did tend to get in trouble because I didn't follow a routine. And I came to realize it doesn't matter what you do in life, routine is important. And one of the days I got in trouble because what I didn't know as a dad that used to work a bit with Kylie running the household and being the boss at the house is how many after activities the kids are doing, like my daughter. Like you just don't, they do a lot of things, but you don't understand how much time this takes. So I got a bit of trouble early days, but got myself into a program, into a system. But that's how the broker journal, came all about. And I want to say thank you to FBAA for endorsing it because clearly I did believe it was value, and I love the fact that you see it as well.
No, that's our pleasure. I mean, I'm all up for things that make sense, the things that help people to grow, and the things that take us on a journey. And this is certainly one of them from my point of view. So tell me more, Ruan, about broker journal. You describe it like a gym membership. I can see the parallel of that, the understanding of getting into a routine, making it become a habit. And when you do those things, your brain just tends to then click into it. But you've always got to start somewhere, and that first step is always the hardest. And that's where you need someone, a personal trainer or the like, to encourage you, to keep you on that path and take you on that journey until it becomes something that is, I guess, regimented in your head this is what happens, this is what you do, and I will see the results from all this, because it's, you know, tried, proven, and it continues on its journey. I've heard this, you know, a little bit described. This may be right or wrong. Is it like a playbook for mortgage brokers?
It is, because one thing with a playbook, and I think if you think of it, the thing that I've learned over the years as a broker, and believe you me, I've been that broker too. We know what we know and we don't know what we don't know. And I love that saying, because so many times there's better ways to do things, but if we're not open to engage, if we're not open to see them, the chances are we miss them. It's a little bit, unfortunately, just that way. And I think what this journal is doing over the 52 weeks for someone is it just really influences those things you do not know and those things that you do know. So it complements the things you know, but it very much energizes the things you don't. So that at the end of the day, it's not about hard or tough or easy or difficult. It's about, you know, what you got to do to embrace. Because at the end of the day, and if you think about everything, we all got into this business because we love helping people. But helping people doesn't mean you need to be an order taker. It means you need to be an advisor. It means you need to be of value to them. You know, I've over the years had the conversations about rate. I've had so many young brokers and brokers come to me and say, the rate conversation, it just takes over. And I go, you make it take over. And they go, no, I don't. I said, yeah, but you do. Because if you're telling me rate is the conversation, is that what you're having? And they go, well, I have no choice. I said, yes, you always have a choice. And they go, well, how would you do it? I said, easy. Client comes into my office and I will say to them, if I can get you a rate of 1.5% and I can't get the deal approved, but I can get you a rate of 2.5% and I can get it approved and it works for you, and that 2.5% I can renegotiate to hopefully to get it to about 2.4. Would that be good? Yeah, I would love 2.4 if it's 2.5. How funny is it that rate is not the conversation anymore? The conversation is, can we get you approved or can we get you a decline? I used to say to brokers, this is the mechanic conversation. No one takes their car to mechanic to find out how many pistons they have. I don't even know if cars have pistons anymore. But you take it there to get it fixed. And the reality of it is, if you have two type of mechanics and the one is buffing the wheels, but the car needs to be back in 2 weeks, versus the one just do their job, do what you came for them to do, which is fix the car, in a year's time, that's the one you're talking about. Yeah, not about the one that needs the wheels.
Yeah, mate, that's a very, very apt point. Energy is time. And you just can't waste your energy and you can't waste your time. You've got to be clear and focused on it. So tell me a bit more about Broker Journal. Just at a headline point, what is it? What does it do? And what should people expect if they went on that journey using Broker Journal?
I think two things. Everything they think that they can't do, they can. So for starters, and I think the thing I'm saying here to you is, there's so many times that we, talk about the gym analogy. You'll go and sit and use a machine, and man, the next day you sore. You're not sore because you used the machine. You sometimes sore because you used it wrong, and that's just the unfortunate truth. But yes, the thing with the Broker Journal, I'll take week 1 for argument's sake. It talks about your A's, B's, and C's in respect of your clients and your referral sources. I had one broker going on to it, sending me a thing and said, I didn't even know I had A's. I said, then there you go. A's to me, and because of that week, there's a video which every week tells you a video that I explain precisely how I put it into work. And it says to you, A's is that referral source that gives you 3 leads a week. You don't work for them, you don't work with them, you work for them. Anyone that gives you 3 leads, you work for them. That's just the reality as we work for clients. So you need to understand these people. Now imagine 12 months from now, Pete, when you're going, when I started on this, I had no A, B's, and C's. I didn't even know what an A, a B, and a C is. Now I've got 1 A, I've got 2 B's, and I've got 3 C's. You can just see your next 12 months, how that's already shaping up.
Yeah, I agree.
Using 1 week, but just to put it in perspective for you, how this almost becomes your business plan, that you can co-park what you've done now and you can compare with what you're now doing.
Right, and I guess then by following the Broker Journal, you're the personal trainer, is that right?
Yes, 100%. Because there's going to be people that wants more. We've got a pathway to broker growth, and there's people already on that journey with us. There's people that wants to create an identity. They want to have their own brand. Those people, they believe there's more out there, but they don't know where to start. They don't know where to stop. And I have this car analogy. I built a one-pager, and it's a car analogy because we've got a Mini Cooper. And one thing with the Mini Cooper, it's not my car, and it's for sure not the one I want to drive, knowing I'm 6'2". But one thing with this car, this is the Countryman, and it's quite a spacious car, funnily enough. But the thing with this car that I found very impressive was when we bought it, the first thing I realized is it has no spare wheel. And I went, well, that's nuts. That's just a problem waiting to happen. So I can remember phoning Mini Brisbane where we bought it. We were in Gladstone, the first one we bought, and I said, listen, there's no spare wheel. And they go, well, no, that's how it's designed. I said, well, that makes no sense. It doesn't even make sense for you to say this is how it's designed. And they go, no, the wheels push out a foam, and that foam will allow you to drive another 200 kilometers. But we also have a service that if you then get to your house, we can replace the wheel. And I went, you are kidding me. That is bloody unreal. And I made this car analogy to say, you've got to build a Mini Cooper proposition for yourself. The one where if something unforeseen happens, you're still moving. Not the one where you have to stop next to the road and for the next 2 to 3 hours you have to change a wheel. And Pete, I can say this to you, I am that unhandy. Changing wheels for me will be a problem. I almost like a Mini now more, just for the fact that there's no wheel changing. And I'm just of that opinion that at the end of the day, whatever we do in broking, as this industry, as we evolve, we need 2 R's. We need to resonate and we need to relate. People, if they like you, they want to deal with you. And we're in an industry where we talk a lot about digital. I don't see digital as a problem. I just see it as a byproduct of what we sell. We need to do what we do best, and that is add value to people. Hence, we cannot be order takers. We need to be careful about wanting to give everything away. I'm a big believer of saying be careful, be concerned about what you wish for, because if you want to do nothing, then there is nothing to do, which means we have no industry. So we got to take stock on what our value is and why people want to keep dealing with us. And that's what you've got to hone into. That's all that's important. Stick to that and you'll be successful in this industry as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Excellent. And within the program, when I hear the word journal, I think about writing a journal. Is that what people are doing?
Every week there's an activity sheet. There's a time for reflection and everything we do in life. And it's that moment you think of the A's, B's and C's. This particular broker didn't know what it means to us. So she put a few names in there just to get to the next step. And then she watched my video, which means she's present, which means this what the best part is about writing. 9 times better to remember things. She watched the video and she goes, wow. So a C person is giving you 1 lead a week. A B person gives you 2 leads a week. A gives you 3. Now, the first thing she said to me, where do I find them? And I said to her, that's the funny part. They're easy to find. Like I look at our industry, and one thing, Pete, I've done in my businesses over the years, I've reflected our industry to be the same as our business. So if you think about our industry, we're third party, and we're known as third party. And brokers over the years, my brokers complain and they go, the bank can do this and the bank can do that. And I said, we're third party, they're first party. They're going to do certain things for them. That's fine. That's life. And again, a broker conversation was from my brokers, well, how do we fight it? I said, you don't fight it. You, at the end of the day, embrace it. Tell your client what your proposition is. Let your client see theirs. And we had a session, I'll never ever forget this, and this is just where this started becoming a big thing for me. And the session we had was, for me, banks have got customers, it's transactional, we have clients, it's relationship. I asked the client, I said, at the end of the day, if you want the transaction, best you deal with the bank. If you want the relationship where I'll look after you year after year, pay attention to where you're at, where you want to go, then you deal with us. This is the time way. It's surprising how many clients go, yeah, I don't want transaction, I want that relationship. Yeah, and it's just so amazing in that moment where you go, I'm not selling to you now, I'm now advising you on why you would choose our business model, why you would choose me. And that's just from so many things, we make it more complex than it should. When you start simplified, this is a very awesome industry to be in.
Yeah, it's an interesting challenge, isn't it? It's very easy to overcomplicate things that aren't necessarily that complicated. But I guess that's a part of life's challenge and the journey that we go through, that make sure we put things into the right perspective. And that way we'll get the right sort of outcomes if we go down the right sort of paths and journey. To me, it's one of your early comments resonates, is that, you know, like we're brokers around the country are extraordinarily busy, but that doesn't mean we should forget the fundamentals of what we need to be doing and to ensuring that we do those things that gave us the success at the moment, to ensure they will continue to give us the success in the future. And instilling those habits and taking that journey in that manner, I think, is all important. Especially, I said, at the moment, brokers have been extraordinarily busy. They were last year as well, they are this year. As we go into the coming year and the years ahead, I'm on public record from years ago, but also, again, more recent, that we will hit 70% market share of originated loans through brokers, and we have every opportunity to hit 80%. In the UK, we're sitting around 72%. And the opportunities are there to be very, very successful. And just because, there seems, there's almost like a finite bubble about how far we can go, we have a lot more market share to gain. The number of brokers in Australia is basically sits on the normal percentage of borrowing population of anywhere in the world. So in America at the moment, and I run I'm chairman of the International Federation for Mortgage Broking, the only one in the world. And we were speaking with the US, I was speaking with the US earlier this week, and they now have 680,000 brokers, both federally and state-based across the entire US. And we sit about 19,600 when we take everyone into consideration, even those that are basically part-timers. We look at it from a regulatory risk and a political conversation. I don't care how active you are. Actually, the least active you are, the bigger risk you are, is the loop that actually winds in. But we look at the totality of risk based on ASIC's data. We're not relying on the industry for the data. We get it from the source where the registries are, and then get out the double ups, because you got proprietary limited companies and individuals, that company basically is credit rep, so move all that around. But to understand the importance of where the market's at, and to be able to make sure we're having the right conversation so that people continue to be successful, and it's not just a moment in time. And you look back in 2 years' time and go, geez, it was good 12 months ago, what happened? You don't want to be in that position in 2 or 3 years' time. You want that success journey to continue, because you have the right habits that you've built into your business, built into your mindset, to make sure that you continue on that successful journey and pass that knowledge on to those that are working with you. I mean, it's not, it's very easy to think it's just about me. And in lots of respect, it is just about me. But if you've got multiple brokers that work with you, it just makes common sense and logic. The more successful they are, the more successful you are, the more successful your journey is. It goes on. And so I was very impressed when I saw the program through Broker Journal. And for everybody who's watching, this is not a paid advertisement. This is just a genuine conversation, right? So don't think that there's a deal somewhere. The only deal is that we look after you along the way.
You can just say something on that. You were talking about brokers in the business and things. One thing about our industry is it's a people's industry. And I think this is what makes this such an amazing platform for us to be part of, and such an amazing journey for us to be part of. But what we can't forget with people is emotion. So if you get into this industry, be okay with the fact that we're going to have highs and lows. I used to say the high is the approval, that's about 5 minutes, the low is the decline, it could be about 3 weeks. And I used to say to my young brokers, I used to say to my staff, the way you go to bed is the way you get up. And I used to have this conversation about marriage, and I'm just shy of being 18 years married.
Yeah, now, Ruan, we've got to be careful where we go there. Your earlier conversation. That. Agree with you though.
No, but it's at the end of the day, getting married is easy. Staying married is hard. You need to put a lot of things in. And I said broking, because it's a people's business. It is the same way. Becoming a broker is the easy part. Remaining a good broker, that's the hard part, because you constantly have to grow, constantly have to nurture. And I say to my brokers over the years, I said, the way you go to bed is the way you're going to get up. So do yourself a favor. If you had an approval today, and it doesn't matter about the declines, send a quick text at 7 p.m. to that client and say, hey, just another shout out to say congratulations, so happy for you. I said, guarantee you tomorrow morning, you'll be surprised how awesome you get out of bed. So we got to use these moments to leverage them for what they're worth, because we are in a people's business, and this is what makes us so vulnerable one way, but so beneficial another. Yeah.
Mate, very, very true. Hey, there's got a couple of questions here I need to answer for people who've submitted them for us and listening in today. And the first one here, I think you've probably got a view on, and maybe even a much better view than I have. And it asks is, what is the position, or actually asks, what is my position? I really don't have one, but anyhow, on the latest Queensland title legislation, which basically abolished Queensland Titles Office and no longer exists. I mean, I've got some information here on it that basically the title registry still exists. It's just now under Queensland Future Fund. There's been a few little changes along the way, but principally it's still the same thing. You being active as a broker far more recently than me, I've been, what are we? I don't know, probably 15 years, 16 years since I've been a broker. You're a lot more recent than that. Have you got any thought, any knowledge on that?
No, I don't. But one thing I do know is governments will make changes all the time.
And
And
you know that.
the reality of it is we can influence the ones where we can. I used to say about when we had Royal Commission, I used to say to brokers, this is one we can influence, so let's influence. One like this, I think we have a harder chance to influence, so we're best off just getting on with it, in my opinion, for what it's worth.
Well, yeah, and look, as far as land titles are concerned, my vintage goes back to the time when there was a thing called a chain of title, which was a pile of documents that could have been this big, literal paper documents. That was a chain of title of every transaction. So you had the transfers, the discharges, the CT in paper form, and legally to take on to the new owner, all of those titles had to be reconciled to ensure that there was nothing missed along the way, so that the title was sound, and then that would be passed on to the next, and that's what was called a chain of title. Going back a long way, but anyhow, but yeah, so yeah, things change and evolve. There's always new rules. My understanding is that there isn't any enormous changes. In principle, it still exists. It just exists in a slightly different form, and I'm sure that's going to happen again somewhere, as you aptly pointed out. One thing that we do know, and that is things will change, and you'll have to pay tax. We hate that idea, but hey, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, tax. You only to certain.
The other question I got here is directed at me, and I'll answer this one, but is there any update on asset finance brokers having to adhere to selling finance at the base rate in line with a mortgage broker? And the simple answer to that is there is no update, and at this stage it's not happening. So this was all a provision around the extension of the best interest duty, which was bundled into the House at the same time with responsible lending obligations repeal. I hate that name, repeal, but technically it's correct, but in practice it's not. Responsible lending wasn't going anywhere. It was a bit of a rejig video. Part of that was to bring asset brokers under the best interest duty by way of an extension, which would then mean they'd have to comply, as a mortgage broker does, with ASIC's general guidance. It's not regulatory guidance, it's general guidance that they would expect mortgage brokers, when they're doing a consumer asset loan, would do that at the lowest possible rate. Now, that hasn't progressed. I have spoken with the Treasurer in the one meeting twice on this, trying to come at different angles for an answer, and there is no answer. And speaking with other senior ministers and senators in the House, it's off the agenda. Responsible lending and the extension of bid aren't happening anytime soon. We're on the doorstep of a federal election. Once that's announced, we go into a caretaker government. Nothing happens through the caretaker period until the new government is set. And so it'll be after that before anything is likely to come back to the table, which is a little bit annoying because there's a whole host of things we'd probably like to see finalised, but politically, that's not going to happen. But for those listening, rest assured, I have spoken to both sides of politics, and we are not a political football as we were in the last federal election. So brokers and their remuneration is not on the table. We are not, there's no policies for us. We're all clear and clean from an election point of view. Yes, we still have the broker remuneration. If there's any issues there, we're prepared for that fight. Our future is sound and solid, and at this stage everyone's on board for the future. So as it is Christmas, and I know we're Ruan, we're diverting slightly from your conversation, but I just want everybody to understand, don't be concerned about the future and the future of your remuneration. We may have an argument in the REM review, and that's all right. We'll take the gloves off, we'll smack a few noses around, there'll be a little bit of blood, it's okay. That's all called fun and sport. But we've got nothing to be concerned about. The research we've done proves that brokers do a brilliant job. It proves that consumers, when they're getting a home loan, don't care that you get paid a commission. What they want is for you to act in their best interest and that's in play, and that's playing out brilliantly. So there's nothing to change. And I've had this discussion now face-to-face, and through screen, with senior politicians and regulators, and there's more conversations until Christmas and in the new year, and continuing on to the REM review. But importantly, not a political football. So yeah, without playing a who you should vote for game, and I'm not doing that, you vote how you like, it won't change your future. To the 2022 remuneration review, we'll fight that as it happens, but there are no holes here. And I don't think that either side of politics really wants to do anything unless something really bad comes up. But we know there's nothing bad, so we're all good. So don't stress. Look forward to a really great 2022 and a future of our industry for everyone. And make sure you do something to make you successful, to keep you successful, which is why we're talking to Ruan. Ruan, sorry, I did go on a little bit there, but I thought it was important that before we close off, because I know you have a meeting to go to shortly, so I am conscious of that. Mate, have you got any last minute tip as to here's what you need to focus on, here's what you should do as we go into 2022? That almost rhymed, by the way, and I didn't plan that. But yeah.
I think for me, it would be the standard for 2022 is database recruitment. It's people to go and start talking to their databases to see if there's people they know that's interested. The market at this stage is so thin. If you think of all the other avenues in respect of trying to find recruits, I do believe if your business is, and again, recruit to grow, I think if you've got the opportunity, what you can't do is not do the very fundamentals good. And usually by letting them go, something else got to give. So I think for me, recruit to grow for 2022, but finding a better way to do it. And database recruitment is free. I mean, when anything is free, it's already a good place to start.
I agree. Any tips for those new to industry, brokers that are just starting out? One, get on to Broker Journal. But any
for me, at the end of the day, is they got to look at where they're finding themselves. This can be a lonely industry in many ways. See who your team, your support team is around you. See who's the people above you or aside of you that can help you grow. You cannot learn from people that's not there. So you've got to find that that team to play. I mean, if you think about it, our business and a lot of things in the world consistently, 80% of the time is a team sport. And this industry, a lot of us come from either corporate or come from banking. Wherever we come from, we used to be part of a team. So it's a big challenge to say, you're changing from swimming to playing rugby union. It's two very different sports. So I think sometimes stay true to your course. If you were used to having people around you and you can, resonate with their attitudes, with their energy, make sure you go and find those people to take you the next level. Don't try and do this on your own, and think it's that easy.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, make sure you're an FBAA member. Why? We're a family. And in all honesty, I talk about us as a family day in, day out. And we take our approach and our care for the industry at large, don't get me wrong, but also for our members as a family. And as we go into 2022, a whole host of new things that we're doing and going to be delivering as well to ensure that we do what we can from the FBAA's point of view to help you to be successful, to look after the things you need to do, and to make sure you're connected with people like Ruan to ensure that there is professional guidance to take on that journey and to support you as you want to grow and go forward. Ruan, thank you so much. I know, like I said, you've got another meeting you've got to get to shortly. I really appreciate your conversation this morning. Love what you're doing from a business point of view. I think it's brilliant. So I don't step out on a limb for money. I do because I believe in what people are doing. So, mate, well done. All the success and have a great Christmas. And to everybody out there, please thank Ruan for his conversation. There'll be more information for you in the email that comes out. And to you, be well, be safe, have a wonderful Christmas. And of course, thanks to our sponsors for their backing support. We'll be back in the new year. We'll advise you soon on the dates and the new format that we may take as we go into next year. Don't forget the conference, 11th of March. It's on, right? Be under no misunderstanding. SeaWorld Gold Coast, Friday the 11th of March. And don't forget, nighttime, our gala dinner is themed Heroes and Villains. So come dressed as your favourite hero or villain. Don't go down Ruan's path, though, that he was talking about. That's too villainous. Anyhow, thanks to the sponsors. Thanks to Suncorp for their support. Have a wonderful Christmas and New Year's. Be well, be safe, as I said before, and we'll look forward to seeing you in 2022. And don't forget to give us a little bit of feedback when the survey comes out and get your CPD allocation code. All right, take care. We're going to see you in 2022. Bye for now.